Here are 3 sentences to use when you feel like you're overproving yourself. Why are we using sentences? You might know that a lot of things we habitually, chronically do can have to do with what happened to us in childhood, how we were raised, how our nervous system was set up. Overproving can very often mean that our attachment style maybe isn't quite as secure yet as it could be, and we try to keep a connection to another human being, or we try to keep their attention on us almost as a protective, a safety mechanism, so that we're not excluded from the tribe or rejected. The key bit really is to teach your body, your nervous system, that it is safe to do you, to fully be you, regardless of what somebody else does or how they react to what you do, or at least 95% of the time, right? Because of course we want beneficial, good interaction, and we want to attune in to someone else, but not chronically feel like we are less than all the people around us. Ultimately, you want to know that you can always put yourself first, not in a selfish, narcissistic manner, but simply by making sure your needs are met. And then from that place of feeling good about yourself and being resourced and having everything you need, you then have capacity and overflow to give to others, attention, resources, wherever it may be. But if you feel like you're not quite there yet, and you get yourself in these situations where you say things you wish you hadn't said, but because you know you only either, again, tried to justify or prove yourself, or you were extra checking that the other person is fine, or you ended up with extra work or extra commitments that you didn't even want to have just because you didn't want to upset someone, there might be something that still needs a little bit of reconditioning. And I said I give you 3 sentences. Why sentences? Not as affirmations that you can just say all day long, and you might see some benefit, but maybe not that much. The way I like to use words and sentences, they are embodiments, right? They really often come with a whole charge of information, of a feeling, of something, how our body reacts to us that can unlock something or that can prevent something from us. And so in that sense, there are affirmations, but again, it's not about saying or repeating them. It's about feeling how much you feel this is true in your body, and especially true also in different situations and scenarios. Because you could say, I'm happy, and it might be true, but maybe it's not always true, right? But the thing is, can you hold the truth of I am happy, so that when the circumstances are that, or you want to be happy, you can tap into that and be like, I'm happy, regardless of what's happening around me. And maybe happy is a funny example because it's quite broad, so I'm trying to give you something more specific. So the first one is, I've said it. I've said it, right? This one is really just for you to play with in those situations where you feel like you're justifying or you're extra explaining, and you feel like maybe I should give them some more information. And you kind of go into this mode of thinking for them, doing something for someone else. And that's really there for you to retrain yourself. It feels almost like, sitting back, relaxing. At least to me, like I feel things in my body. Maybe for you it shows up differently, but see if you maybe can pick up something from your body, because that's often the strongest indicator that something's working or not working. It's like, I've said it, I've done my part, and you kind of give the responsibility to the other side, which doesn't mean you will not give an extra explanation or answer back if that's needed, but you do not more than what is needed of you, and they will now do their bit of the equation and see if that's actually enough, or if they did understand you, right? And the key bit is really to see when you might want to say more than what is needed. And I don't mean necessarily, you're socializing and it's for entertainment purposes or something. I especially mean it in situations where you almost give your power away when you continue talking, right? I'm sure you've heard that before, that there can be many situations where saying less is actually, as they often say, gold, and talking is silver. So I've said it. Take it on, play with it, and especially, like I said, see how your body reacts to it. And you might have to apply it to specific situations to get a proper reaction. But if you can keep it in your head, I've said it, and also notice how that feels even now in a neutral state, and then you play with it during your day. So the second one is a bit similar but different. That's not mine. It has the same kind of vibe of I'm distancing myself, I'm leaning back, but it has almost a bit more, this is yours, handing it over to you. That's your problem, that's your emotion, that's your work, it's your stress. I don't have to deal with it. So it's a bit more active, kind of giving something to someone else. And again, get that in your body. And with these sentences, do use them, play with them, but you also might find your own expressions, because depending on the context, you might not just say, that's not mine. You might want to say, not my problem, my issue, or not for me to take on. It might come out a bit different. That's why sometimes the words don't matter. They matter, but ultimately what you need to get is a feeling. That's why I say that's way more important than the exact phrasing. Same also with the first one I gave you. So just again, but see, and maybe you will immediately get in a situation that you've experienced where all you would have needed to say is, not my problem, not for me to solve, not for me to spend time on this, right? And it could also be something where it's not immediately saying it to another person, but let's say something happens, your boiler breaks or whatever, and it could also be something you say to yourself, like, not my problem. Let me get someone else to fix it, right? It's making sure you do not take on more responsibility than what is actually yours. The third one I'm going to give you is, that's my way. That's my way. That's how I do things. And again, you might notice it has a similar energy of, this is mine, this is yours, I'm not going to go over here, but it's subtler. And especially what I like about it, it almost gives you a different orientation to say, okay, this is my path, this is where I'm going, right? I don't even have to bother over here or tell you not to take on your stuff. I'm just simply focusing on what's mine. This is my way, that's mine. This is how I do things. Again, once you've got the feeling, you change it. Feel free to use something that suits you better. It's just for you to train you to get the feeling. That's my way. And it's something, again, it could be an affirmation, confirmation in a situation where it could be in a conversation, or just something where, you feel like drawn to maybe agree a little bit too much with someone else, or take on their way of doing things or thinking, or, where, like, very common, I find sometimes when we feel like, you have to please everyone around us, we kind of don't trust that what we are doing or how we like to do things is as valid and usually often as good. It's just a different way of doing things. And it actually helps us, again, that's maybe the out breath, to relax into it. And it really is training yourself to just trust. A part of you always knows what's good for you, right? We always know what to eat, what to say. But the question, of course, it's training is here to really strengthen that part and listen to it much more and more, and also to act from it more and more. The one that's really nourishing us, supporting us. And so play with it, that's my way. And again, and you can even say it to yourself when you're doing something, just so you don't start doubting how things naturally flow out, be it speaking, be it doing something. So the first one was, I've said that. I've said it, it's done. Don't need to bother anymore. Let's move on, kind of thing. And the second one was, that's not mine. And I know some people will say, oh, but you shouldn't use negatives. Try for yourself if you think it makes a difference. If instead of saying, that's not mine, you find it easier to say, that's mine, which is then almost similar to the that's my way, then focus on that. But I find sometimes it helps, first of all, to do the distance and thing, and think, not mine, not my problem. And really, and for me, it's quite an active one. I use my hands and stuff way more than when I say, I've said it. I've said it is still a bit more subtle again. The that's not mine is really they're pushing, the whole energy back to someone else. And so that's mine if it helps you. But I find it has a very different feeling. So I like the negative in this one. And the third one was, that's my way. Or again, you might say it, that's my way. It might come out, that's my way, depending on the situation, right? That can be said in different ways and slightly, maybe at least with a different feel. Not sure if with a different meaning. So that's my invitation to you. Use these 3 sentences, really embody them, really making sure they feel like every cell in your body believes them and knows them, and you don't have to think about saying them. They just are your state of being. And again, when you really embody something, the words might sound actually very different, but the state of being, like what you actually want to convey, is the same. And as always, I would be curious to see what magic you will make happen using them.